contributions of Dr. Singh. Now joining me live on the broadcast is Ajay Dua, former Secretary of Ministry of Industry and Commerce. Appreciate you joining me at this point of time. In fact, how we are now in the process of recalling all the great contributions that have been made by Dr. Singh in the tenure that he was holding the positions, and also how it shaped specifically India's growth story and the historic economic reforms.
Thank you very much for having me and giving me an opportunity to pay my tribute to a man of character, a man who has so diversified yet underplayed himself in almost every manner consciously. And I would call him a man of absolute resolution behind being so soft on the exterior. And I'll give you a few anecdotal incidents rather than talk like others who are more qualified have spoken. I used to be his student. In 1970, I was at the Delhi School of Economics, where he had just returned from the US and joined there as Professor of International Trade. I had written my civil services exam, he knew about it, yet he sent for me and he said, would you like to be my research assistant for a project on which he had been commissioned by the Indian Council of Social Sciences Research on survey of India's literature, or survey of literature on India's foreign trade. And he was a specialist. I was more than happy to serve him for the 5 or 6 months till I joined the civil service later. And what happens after I've seen him, see him accidentally in central government, he looks at me and first question he asks me is, Ajay, have you learnt your driving? I was a little startled, saying, he was at that time a member of parliament. Then I recall that once or twice when I was his research assistant, I used to have a scooter, and he had requested me to drop him. He used to stay at a place called Lucknow Road on Delhi's Mall Road near the university area. And I probably used to be in a hurry, and the scooter skidded a couple of times. And he, of course, was absolutely safe, so was I. But he had that in mind, and that was the first question, and it had put me absolute ease. And then, of course, we saw him just before that. He was the economic advisor in the Ministry of Industry and Commerce, Udyog Bhavan, a place where I've spent also three tenures, including as the Secretary of the Industrial Development side, that he knew so much of the subject. So well he had seen it after being a scholarly man of what is happening. So in the fitness of things, people who had worked with him could recall his memory going back to the examples of the United States, examples of UK, where he had studied both for his tripos in Cambridge University and later a PhD at Oxford. And I had got an opportunity to be with him in 2006 with him in the UK on an official trip, where the University of Cambridge awarded him an honorary causa PhD. They said, why only Oxford? Oxford has given him a degree which he has earned. This one, we would like to honor a man who's doing so much for a country and in the process for the world. And his speech was a sterling speech. I heard him address a gathering of luminaries from entire cross-section of the UK, and it was on the front page of every newspaper. And at that time, of course, he was also the Prime Minister. And look at the way he handled the Prime Minister's job. He knew that he didn't have a political backing, except that he had been chosen as the right man, and he had to balance a coalition government. He had to balance with the political leadership within his own party. Yet, not once, and I, as a secretary, we had several opportunities to interact and seek his guidance or being summoned for various things to clarify. It was invariably an unflappable man who will tell you what's to be done and ask you, are you comfortable doing it? what do you have to say? I don't think he ever muzzled down an opinion, even as a prime minister, and all of us, particularly the economic ministries with whom he had a greater interaction, looked forward to it.
All right, Mr. Dua, thank you for in fact giving us a detailed account of how you would